Hello and welcome back, everybody. I am Grim Falcon, and today we're looking to shore up a weakness I had with the super smelter I built a while back, and that is namely the time it takes to fill up the lava buckets. So, we've done a little bit of testing here, and what I have found is stationary cauldrons tend to fill up at about double the rate that the moving ones do. So, we're going to look to keep the cauldrons stationary on this farm. And before we get too deep into this, we have a little bit of testing to do. So I'm going to set up the testing, and we'll see what it's like when we're done. So with this little mock-up, we're looking to test just two things. First off, I need to know, do I need to space out the cauldrons, or can I stack them side by side, and no matter how fast I go, will I still empty them? Because that's important. And as I come around this corner here, I'm fairly sure I'll continue to face this way the whole time, but we're just going to test that and make sure so we don't build an entire farm and realize I have to adjust something. So, let's jump in and test these things. So we're going to flick you. Oh. Okay, so already I saw a problem. We'll do that. And as you can see, it looks like, yeah, I'm missing about every third one. However, I will also say that this power system is barbaric overkill. This is not how fast I would be going in the actual farm. I just wanted to test max speed. So we're going to make a quick adjustment and then we will retest. Okay, so I made a quick adjustment here, dialed back the powered rails. This is probably still more than I would use in the actual farm, but I'd rather test at a higher speed than a lower one. So let's go ahead and jump in and do some testing. Okay, I don't know why it kicked me out of the minecart there. Like, I have no idea why. It looks like I'm still missing the one directly after the powered rail. And we're still missing an odd one, but we're missing substantially less, which might be okay. I just don't know why it's kicking me out of the rail right at this turn here. Let's try that again. We're not going to hit any buttons. We're just going to see what... So what is it about this? Let's try that again. Maybe I can't put a powered rail right before a turn like that. Okay. I am confusion. Do I need to come out and around? There we go. And we did face the same way, so that's a good test. And see, this is why we do testing. Apparently, you can't turn a 90-degree directly around a cauldron. I was hearing the lava sound. I don't know if you guys are hearing that, so maybe it only matters if the cauldron is full of lava. But this is why we do testing. So, does seem like this is something I can probably work with. I did use 15 cauldrons here. If I have to extend this out, I might need to shorten it down to 14 or 13, but we're going to start building the actual farm and see how we can, see if we can make this work. All right, and now we have the first two modules set up, and as you'll notice, I dropped the rails down one level, and I thought for doing that is if I'm up here, I'll be throwing the buckets as we're filling them. If I'm up here, I'm going to be throwing the buckets into the cauldron. If I'm sitting down here in the minecart, I can't physically do that as I go, so that's why I did that. But now we have a little bit of a hard part. And now that I think about it, this module will probably need to get extended out a little bit. Because what I need to work on is the bucket replacement system. And I have an idea for how I want to do that, but I think I need more than just one level to do that. So we're going to go ahead and get rid of this, and we'll probably finish one module so we know how much room we have, and then we'll start building on more after that. And here we have hit our first little snag. So, this system here works perfectly. So, this goes in, that arms the system, and when I come by and empty the system, it will dispense a bucket. That works great. So, I went to build this whole thing out, and I very quickly realized, wait a minute, this is not one wide tileable. So, it needs to be one wide tileable, but I may have a slight workaround. I'm going to have to hope this works. Give me 1 second to try it out. Well, I thought the system would work, and it doesn't. not only will this line not power this repeater, but if I power that way, it will also power that line, which means this one would never trigger anyways. So I'm going to have to go back to the drawing board, and while I do that off camera, let us take a minute to thank today's sponsor. You know what I find to be the worst? When you end up with no fresh food in the house, so you just start eating whatever's handy. Well, thanks to today's sponsor, HelloFresh, you need not worry about that anymore. HelloFresh is the first carbon-neutral meal kit company and offers weekly options, including rotating items to always keep the options fresh. Best of all, every HelloFresh recipe goes through rigorous testing from professionally trained chefs, so you know you are getting quality recipes that you will love. If you've been on the fence about starting a meal kit company, now is a great time. If you use my link in the description below or go to HelloFresh.com and use code POGHF3704, you will receive 16 free meals across 6 boxes plus 3 surprise gifts. Simply click the link in the description below, then select your meal preferences, number of people, and recipes per week, and you can start saving time and money on your meal prep. Huge thanks to HelloFresh for the sponsor. Now let's get back to the video. Alright, and here is what I managed to come up with. So, this is a one-wide tileable falling edge monostable circuit. And it does work, so if you see, we'll fill those up. That primes the system. And we have 11 rails in there for the test. And we do that. And both rails dispense. Drop, sorry, they don't dispense, they drop. And there is one drawback to this system. If I do that too quickly, you see I only got one drop. That is because obviously it takes a bit of time, and if we do things a little bit too quickly, it'll count it as a single output. That means we have to really control the speed of our minecart so that we're not going fast enough to trigger the line twice in a row, even if the buckets are even if the cauldrons are full 2 in a row. So that's something to keep in mind, but we need to tile the system out across and then do some more testing. All right, I have tiled over that system to all of these, and you can ignore all of these observers. They don't matter. That was back when I was trying something different. However, it is time to test if this system works. So I have 1 bucket in my inventory right now. When I get to the end, if this works, I should have 14. So we're going to power that on. And we're going to count when we get over there. Oh, 1 did drop off. At least 1. I have 10, 12, 14. The system works. That is awesome. Now, we have to add a new system here. So let's say I'm coming along here and all of these are full and I get to here and I take that one and the circuit comes through and there's no more buckets in this dropper. What I would need is to exit the system so that the next time around or on a future branch, I didn't dump lava onto myself. So we need a system that will detect that, detect when this is empty, take this input and say that we have this input, but this is empty. So we're going to send him off the system and back to the start. So I'm going to work on that system, and I have an idea that might work, but I had an idea of what might work over here. So we're just going to have to try it and see if it works. All right, and this system is in. Down here, this glass block is just because the track goes this way. And if this was a solid block, I would take damage as I went through it, but a glass block, I don't. That's just holding the comparator. So how the system works is this comparator will detect when this dropper runs out of buckets, at which point this torch will turn off. This line will still be on, however, because this torch will be powering it until this is triggered, at which point this line will go off only momentarily because it's only going to be a 1 tick because of that. However, when that happens, this piston will push this block out of the way, which will shut this system off, which will then turn the track so that I go out that way. I will just quickly demonstrate that like so. And then we have to trigger that side still, so we're just going to break that. And then I would go down to the exit system. This piston down here, we're not doing anything with it just yet, but that's just the reset piston. So after buckets were refilled back up into the dropper, I would push a button somewhere at the main control, and that would then power that piston momentarily, and that would just reset the system. So we're going to replace that piston there. And we're probably going to have to just do that and put a glass block there. Stupid bud-powered pistons. All right, there we go. And that will reset the system. So I think I'm at the point now where I can just keep building off modules as soon as I remove that. So I'm going to build out a few modules and maybe run a quick stress test. And if that looks good, then we'll probably build it all the way out and see what kind of rates we get. And here we are, primed and set for a stress test with 3 modules in. So if you notice, I have 14 buckets in my inventory and every other slot is full. What that'll mean is once I go into survival mode, they will all, every time I take one of these out, I'll throw a bucket down. And when I get to the end, I'll be left with 1 bucket. That means I will be counting on the new buckets coming from these droppers, which I did enclose in glass chutes to make sure the buckets land where I need them. I will be counting on those buckets to be able to do this module, and I'll be counting on these buckets in order to do this module. Now, this module only has 12 buckets in it, even those 13 cauldrons. That means when I get to here, the dropper will be empty. So when this one goes off, it should trigger this line, which should mean that I come down the exit line, not the main line. So with all of that set in mind, let's jump down here, go into here. We will go into game mode, go into, oh, not spectator. We don't want spectator. We want survival. All right. And let's see if my system works. Okay, that did not look good. So the buckets absolutely worked. That wasn't a problem. However, oh, I can't fly because I'm not in creative mode. Let's fix that. So did this trigger and just trigger? Yes, so that just triggered too late. That is a problem. Okay, I have to figure out how to trigger this earlier or how to slow myself down on each one of these. And we will have to correct that. Give me a minute to look at that. All right, that fix was actually very easy. So I swapped out the 2 tick repeaters because with 1 tick repeaters, it wouldn't actually switch this torch off. So I used 2 tick repeaters, which did, but that was triggering the system just a little bit too slow. I use comparators, which will single tick the torches off, and that seems to be just in time to throw me down. Now I've reset the system up exactly the way it was before. So let's go ahead and game mode, survival. Let's go ahead and run a second stress test. I don't have enough buckets. Let's go ahead and fix that. There we go. And game mode survival one more time. And let's go ahead and run the stress test. Back to 14, that looks good. Second wave, back to 14, still looking good. And that should trigger me off and down to the exit. The system works. That is awesome. And once again, I forgot I cannot fly in survival. So we'll fix that. And now the next step is to build out more of these modules. I think I'm going to start with 10 and see how that works. Then, of course, we got to put all the dripstone and all of that stuff in. But right now, we're just trying to get the modules in. So I'm going to go ahead and build the system out. Build out 10 more modules, or 7 more modules to make 10 total. And then we'll see how the system looks. And we'll probably start working on the dripstone after that. Progress has been made. So I did finish off the modules. There are 10 modules in the system. I also finished off the rail system. So there's a couple different ones here. There's the main one that will send me back to just loop into the system. I believe that's this one here. And how that works is just sends me over this way and then back up into the starting system. That should remain on. And that just sends me around and loops. The inside system, that's the safety exit. That all sends me back up to this rail system. And this one here, these rails are specifically not meant to be powered. They are a brake to make sure that I don't accidentally end up back in the system when I don't want to be. This button here, that just triggers the reset system for all of these pistons so that the system can be powered back up after the empty droppers have been filled back up with empty iron buckets. And the only thing left, I believe, before we can do an actual full-scale test on this is the dripstone. So we got to get the dripstone in, all the pointed stalagmites pointing down into the cauldrons, and of course the lava above them. So I'm going to go ahead and start out on that. I also need to fill in blocks around these, just to make sure that when I throw the bucket, they have to land on the rail system, and then they'll obviously get sucked down by the hoppers and back to the storage. So we're going to get that finished up, and then we're going to do a test. Well, that did not work. As I progress through here, I keep picking up speed. So by the time I get to the end, I end up with less and less buckets. And I got about, I think, halfway through before I ran out of buckets and end up with a lava bucket in my inventory. So we have to find a way to slow ourselves down. So let's go ahead and do that before we do the 1 hour test. And I have a lava bucket on there, which shouldn't have happened, and I'm not sure why it did. Well, we got to fix that too. All right. Okay, I did get the slowdown in. I tried doing it with some honey blocks around the corners, but I was still going too fast by the end. So what I did do is I just removed a bunch of the powered rails. I can make it all the way through, but by the end I am still going a little bit quick, but we're going to test it and see if it still works. Because if it works, then it doesn't matter. So, shut that off, plug that in. Game mode survival. All right, and let's see how this goes. Okay, on module 3, I lost a bucket, and on this particular module, I didn't get a... I didn't get any buckets out of... And that would be why. I don't know if that was like that. I did drop some lava accidentally when I was filling up all of the cauldrons, so that might have been an accident there. But we want to slow down before module 3, and then we'll reset the system and do another stress test. All right, you guys know the drill by now. This is stress test number 3. Let's go. You know what helps for a stress test? If I go ahead and take myself off of creative mode. All right, let's try that again. All right, I said stress test for real, number 3. Let's go. All right, by the second last module, I'm still going too fast. So, I gotta slow myself down even more. Okay, I believe we are set. By the last 2 or 3 modules, we're still going a little bit quick, but all of the buckets get replenished, so if, like with these 2, I might take this one and miss this one, but after the first run, the odds that all of these would be full anyway is pretty low, so near the end, I can kind of live with that. It does mean that 10 modules is probably about the most you would want with this anyways. So now we need to do our 1 hour rate test. So the first thing to do is empty all of these out from our stress tests. And we have a minecart in there too, but empty all of this out and then see where we get after 1 hour. All right, our 1 hour rate test is done. Let's see what we got out of this. 1, okay, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 full double chests, plus obviously the hoppers in the back here. That is insane rates. I'm going to do that math off camera, and I will put the number on screen now. That is absolutely phenomenal rates from the system. Well, guys, huge thanks to everybody who watched this video. I really appreciate it. If you enjoyed this content, hit that like button and don't forget to subscribe for more like this. Until next time, stay safe, stay happy, and don't do anything I wouldn't do. Goodbye, everybody.